Hello. I've been reflecting for a while about who I would be without my bad influences, and just like observing people around me, how they would act, how they would behave, how actually they would be, what kind of identity they would have if there was no bad influences. Not exactly if there was not, but if you could cope, and if you could only be conscious about these bad influences around you and actually be conscious about yourself. The reason why I've been wondering about it and thinking about it is because I've been traveling for over 2 years now, mostly in Asia, and I don't usually do it alone. I mean, I travel by myself, but I share houses, I share rooms, and I share my life with people that I don't choose. It can sound a bit scary, but it makes part of a whole community that we know how it is. So at the end of the day, it's not a huge problem. And about the different versions of yourself, that's a very good opportunity to get to know about this, to get to know about yourself a bit more, and finally being able to analyze exactly how you should not be, and what are the things that makes you feel a little joy. And at the same time that you analyze these versions of you, you criticize it, and at the same time you do this to others too. And to be critic, it's not actually a bad thing, because to critic is to be a judge, and to judge is to be a human, because that's what we do all the time, for everything, for everyone, for ourselves. And that's not actually a problem. The problem is when you do it in a non-wise way, in a completely way that you don't know exactly where that came from. And when you don't know where that came from, it probably comes from the most shallow part of your mind, when you're not actually conscious about the things that you are thinking. And once you're not really aware of it, it can be dangerous, because your mind, the truly version of yourself, yourself, exactly who you are, that perhaps you not even notice where is it, will constantly give you signs about what you're doing, about which is right, which is wrong, about what you're doing that doesn't really make part of the most genuine version of you. And once you cannot see, you cannot change yourself. You cannot change yourself for the better. And that's where the most difficult part starts. Because you start thinking that you like things that you actually don't. You start to talk in a way that actually doesn't belong to you. You start doing things that actually doesn't belong to you yourself, in the right version, let's say like that. And how I've been seeing this kind of behaviors, these people can't control. Most part of them, they can't control this. They start drinking without knowing why they're doing it. They starting to smoke without knowing the reason why. And I'm not telling that I'm totally against all these stuffs. I'm just telling that while you are making without knowing what you're doing, just like everything in life, who are you? Are you actually leading the things you do, or you're let these things lead you? And if you start thinking about it, you don't need to just use yourself as an example. You learn by analyzing others as well. And to be honest, that's the less harmful way of learning. Because actually you just need to encourage this little part of criticizing, of analyzing, of actually stop and stare and think. You need to encourage the part of breathing, so you can finally be able to see without your shallow eyes, let's say like that, and see with something that reflects a bit more deep inside. And if I would put myself as an example for this, I remember that 2 years ago I was a completely different person. I would say that, as I said before, my mind and my consciousness was all the time like knocking the door of my mind, knocking the door of my reality, and telling me what the hell you doing? That's not you. But I kept avoiding it. I kept like thinking about it, and I kept doing the things that today I've seen that they're not for me. And I was drinking even though I hated the taste of the alcohol. I never smoked, but I was always with people around that were smoking. But to be around people that doesn't really fit you, of course it drags you down. And after all that, after ignoring all the very deep thoughts that I was having about this, about the right thing, I I was feeling myself hella tired. I was feeling tired, and I had no idea where that was coming from. I could just imagine that, I don't know, maybe I didn't sleep good in the last night, or maybe I needed to exercise more, or drink more water, or doing a lot of things that actually I was doing, but it just made me think that I wasn't doing enough. And I can see now how exactly all the things that I was doing was sucking out my energy, was like literally draining my energy out of me, and putting myself in a place that I wasn't supposed to be. And I would never say that I wish I could go back in time and fix all that stuff there, and make that different. No, never. Because we are here exactly for this, to experience all that, to get to know about ourselves in a way that sometimes gonna be pleasure, sometimes not gonna be pleasure. Most of the time it's not that pleasuring actually, but that's more than normal. That's the only way that we can sharp ourselves, and we can time by time get closer to this most genuine version, get closer to ourselves more. And it's like finally date with ourselves, finally see it face to face, and be able to finally say, I'm glad I met you. And of course, you are going through these experiences aiming for the good, aiming for the most realistic part of yourself. And I remember a lot of times while I was talking to some people, and kind of give them like sort of advices that they came to me randomly to talk, to ask, because to be honest, it's a kind of lonely word that we live, traveling alone, and like meeting new people all the times. And when you find someone that you think is quite okay to have some kind of friendship or connection, after a couple months you probably would never see them again. Or if you do see them again, congratulations, that was a bit lucky of you. Anyway, I've been talking to some people, and what I most heard was how ashamed they were about committing mistakes. There is nothing wrong in committing mistakes. We are here exactly for that. We're here to pass through it, because that's how we learn. Not the only way of learning, but that's the most efficient way of learning. But the thing is, are you actually learning? Or are you just relying on your mistakes because perhaps you have found some comfort in it? And that's exactly what leads us to the main point of this conversation. Who am I when I no longer give value to these little wrong things that come up to me? I don't know, the bad topics, the random bad topics that people are always trying to talk about to fill up their souls. And not just people can encourage this evil part of us. It can be places, it can be environments, it can be our habits, it can be even the songs that we are listening to. Because if you keep listening to a song that talks a lot of bullshit all the time, automatically your brain gonna start believing in that. Gonna start believing that that's the right way of living, that's the right thing to do. And I'm not gonna, of course, like giving examples of lyrics that I've been hearing out there, but I believe you kind of know what I'm talking about. And I've been noticed the difference in myself in different places that I've been. For example, when I was in Korea, that was the most hard place for me. That was the most hard time for me. I was feeling lonely. I was feeling totally lonely, and I was in the winter there either, and I had a very difficult time because I couldn't know how to deal with the culture out there. I didn't know how to deal with how people act there. I felt them so cold. I felt them very, I don't know, kind of robotic. I didn't feel any warmth there, and that was just my second trip. It was 2 years ago. I was younger. I was less, let's say, less intelligent, and I just, I just, I just didn't know how to react to all that, how to perceive all that in a good way, in a, let's say, not positive but realistic way. All that was just bringing me down. Then I moved to China and was a bit better, but at the same time was, I mean, that was my first impression of Asia, and to be honest, it was quite overwhelmed. Then I head back to Istanbul, where I am right now, and this is a kind of place that I feel I feel good. I feel I feel peaceful. And all I'm saying is that there's gonna be some places that gonna be harder for you to to feel to feel good about yourself and to concentrate in the good things that it's happening around, that it's all the times actually happening. It's all the time happening, but like sometimes we just can't see it. Most of the times actually we can't see it, and of course the place has its influence in it. The thing about the 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 harder places is that they teach you exactly the version that you need to get to know about yourself, that you would never be there if you wasn't in that place. You would never actually be living this version of you. So this is also one kind of bad influence that gonna force you to go and dig deep inside your own mind. When you get out of there, you just look back and you feel thankful actually, because you passed through it, and now you're finally able to see a little bit more with a sharpened vision about yourself. Anyway, let's make a pause in this conversation because there is a very beautiful song that I want to sing called Making Losing Better by Bridget S.T. John. Drifting in lonely confusion surrounds her wherever she is. The places, the times are the people don't matter. There's nothing she sees that's not his. He comes to her in her sorrow. She runs to him in her way, thinking maybe they would borrow each other till there was no more to say. They take the time to say goodbye to what they played a part in, and making time say hello to whatever they are starring. He cries, I am alone. She says that's something I know, and we all can still, and all we can do is to swallow the echoes and wait for the king to go. He smiles at her, it is alright. There's a lot of people that have been acting different depending on what kind of people they are with. And that makes me want to ask them if they are just trying to prove how soulless they are, or are just they afraid of losing people. Don't be afraid of losing people. You have to lose. They have to lose you once you are being yourself. That's the only way of living, and that's part of life. That's it. Well, it's a beautiful view, isn't it? It is. Anyway, don't smoke, and bye.